The Hattie McDaniel documentary. Hattie McDaniel was one of the first black women to receive an Oscar. She was born on June 10, 1895, in Wichita, Kansas. Her mother, Susan Holbert, and her father, Henry McDaniel, had many children, as Hattie being the youngest of 13. In 1901, her family moved to Denver, Colorado for their growing household. When going to school, Hattie McDaniel was only one of two black kids attending the elementary class. McDaniel had many talents such as singing and writing poetry. While she was young, she sang everywhere she went and soon after started to sing in professional minstrel shows. In sophomore year of 1910, Hattie McDaniel dropped out of high school to become a full-time worker as a minstrel performer. In the 1920s, Henry McDaniel, Hattie's father, retired, which made her join Professor George Morrison's famous Melody Hounds and other publicized tours. During that time, she also wrote many show songs such as Sam Henry Blues and Quittin' My Man Today. Hattie's love life was not easy. Hattie married her first husband, Howard Hickman, on January 19, 1911. He sadly passed away in 1915. Soon after, in 1922, she married George Blandford, but he later died with a gunshot wound in January of 1925 while her fame was rising. On March 21, 1941, she married James Lloyd Crawford. In 1945, she soon found out she was pregnant and started to make a nursery when she found out it was a false pregnancy. She divorced Crawford, stating that he had been jealous of her success. Larry Williams married Hattie on the 11th of June in 1949 in Yuma, Arizona. She later divorced him after saying that the 5 months they were married had been blemished by arguing and fussing. After that, she was said to never marry someone again. During Hattie's marriages, she was sparking up a ton of fame. In 1925, she went on her first radio performance on the Denver's KOA station. McDaniel was reported to be one of the first black women to be heard on American radio. A few years later, in 1929, Hattie McDaniel was left without a job because of the Great Depression. The Great Depression was during 1920s and 1930s, when there was an economic hardship because many people had to lose their job. When this happened, Hattie moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and found work at Sam's Picks Club Madrid as a bathroom attendant. After that, she became a performer for Club Madrid for about a year. She soon moved to Hollywood, California, where one of her brothers and sisters, Sam and Ida McDaniel, lived. In 1934, Hattie was casted in the Fox production of Judge Priest. McDaniel was also given the opportunity to sing a duet with a man named Will Rogers, the well-known American humorist. In 1935, she played Mom Beck, who was a happy black servant in the Old South. This started a feud since production acted as if Americans that were black were happier as slaves than being independent people. While she was in Hollywood, Hattie did many great things. In 1936, she had appeared in 12 films, but for the whole decade, she was in 40 performances. Almost all her roles were being a maid or a cook for an all-white household. In that time, she also was granted the role of Mammy in Gone with the Wind over all her many rivals. She earned a salary of $450 per week just being a maid. When playing Mammy in Gone with the Wind, she impressed Academy Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences so much that she was awarded the 1940 Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. It was the first ever Oscar to be won by an African American. She made a speech there too.
For Hattie McDaniel. Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science, fellow members of the motion picture industry, and honored guests. This is one of the happiest moments of my life, and I want to thank each one of you who had a part in selecting me for one of the awards. For your kindness, it has made me feel very, very humble, and I shall always hold it as a beacon for anything that I may be able to do in the future. I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race and to the motion picture industry. My heart is too full to tell you just how I feel. And may I say thank you, and God bless you.
Even if many people were happy, NAACP, or better known as National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, were not ecstatic with her work. They thought it was not right to make an African American the maid, as that was a stereotype. In 1944, Hattie found herself in a crisis. She was in a legal battle over a system in Los Angeles that limited ownership and land rights from African Americans. When she purchased the house in 1942, she was always faced with getting kicked out of her own home. She had to challenge the racist system in the court, but she finally won soon after. In the late 1940s, McDaniel started to see her role and screen opportunities disappear, but she soon found her way to it. In 1947, she got the role of Baloo on The Baloo Show. This made her the first black performer to star in a radio program intended for a general audience. A few years later, in 1951, she suffered a heart attack while filming The Baloo Show. She was fine, but by summer, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. On October 26, 1952, McDaniel passed away. She was always remembered as Mammy from Gone with the Wind.